I was hiking one day and saw this tree growing sideways out of a hill. Then it turned sharply upward like an L-shaped miracle. It made me stop and think, why do some people, like that tree, keep growing even after they've been knocked flat? College can feel like that. You'll get hit with exams, burnout, and grades that don't match your effort. The students who keep growing, it's not luck, it's mental resilience, and it's a skill that you could actually build. I'm Dr. Erik Albinson, an education PhD who spent years studying how students bounce back from stress and failure. Today, I'll show you how to build that same resilience, step by step. Resilience isn't pretending everything's fine. It's your ability to recover, adapt, and keep moving after stress and failure. Research shows that there are 3 key parts to mental resilience in college. Self-confidence, your belief that you can handle what's in front of you. Mindset, how you interpret a setback. And personal responsibility, your willingness to take action and to learn from your mistakes. Bandura called it self-efficacy, your belief in your ability to succeed. If you believe you can handle it, you'll keep trying until you do. If you believe you can't, you'll stop before you even start. That belief comes from experience. Each small win becomes evidence that you can do hard things. The key takeaway from self-efficacy research is that your belief system matters. If you believe you can do something, you are more likely to succeed. But if you don't believe it, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. You won't even try. So the first step to resilience is to intentionally build self-efficacy. It is natural that you're not going to be good at something when you first start, but you need to push through that learning barrier. Here's the science. When you start learning something new, there's a learning curve, and at the start, there's always a steep climb. Think of it like walking up a steep hill. It's hard. The first few hours are frustrating. That's where most people quit. But if you can push through about 7 to 8 hours of focused practice, that confusion will start to fade. You'll begin to understand. Author Josh Kaufman calls this the 20-hour rule. You can go from 0 to fairly competent in just 20 focused hours. Not mastery, but enough to get results and to build confidence. So don't expect instant progress. Expect discomfort. That's the price of growth. That's the price of learning. To help avoid frustration, you need to break your learning into small daily chunks. It's not about intensity, it's about consistency. Every block of focused time is another brick in your confidence wall. And when you hit that point, when you're lost or unmotivated, you need to remind yourself, you're probably just a few hours away from understanding. So push through it. Lean into discomfort. You'll get it. This connects to one of the most important studies on resilience, Dweck's research on growth and fixed mindsets. A growth mindset sees failure as feedback, as an opportunity to learn. A fixed mindset sees failure as proof that you are not good enough, that your skills are fixed, permanent. No one is purely one or the other. We all have areas where we're growth-oriented and others where we're stuck. Resilience starts when you practice the mindset you want. It's a decision and it's a skill. Every time you fail, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? Instead of, what's wrong with me? That single question rewires your brain toward growth. Here's the irony. Some of the brightest students I've coached struggle the most with a fixed mindset. They've always been smart, so they avoid situations where they might fail. But failure is where growth actually happens. So while gifted students often stay stuck, the ones who keep improving are the ones who risk looking bad, and they keep trying anyway. A growth mindset leads to action, and a fixed mindset leads to avoidance. And that's a big difference. And that brings us to a quick pause. If you want more science-backed strategies for studying motivation and focus, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe. Now let's talk about another important mindset, optimism. Before Dweck's work, psychologists studied optimism and pessimism. The difference is in how people explain setbacks. An optimist would say, this is temporary. I can fix this. They see failure as specific and temporary. A pessimist would say, this always happens. I'm just bad at this. They see failure as permanent and pervasive. And that framing decides what you will do next. Optimists keep trying. They keep learning. Pessimists stop trying. They quit. Here's what that looks like in real life. One week, I met with several students who failed a philosophy exam. The first student told me, we were given 5 philosophers to study, but I ran out of time and I didn't study Aristotle. Then she laughed and she said, it turns out Aristotle's kind of a big deal. She smiled, she took responsibility and said, for the next exam, I'll manage my time better and study all the philosophers. That's an optimistic response. She pinpointed a specific reason for the setback and she believed it was fixable. And she was right. She improved on the next exam. Later that week, another student failed the same exam, came to me and he looked down, eyes water, and he said, Erik, I don't know why I failed. I don't think I belong in college. That's a pessimistic response. The failure felt permanent, personal, and inescapable. When you catch yourself thinking that way, you need to reframe those negative, pessimistic thoughts through an optimistic lens. You need to ask yourself, is this problem temporary? What is that specific thing I can do to improve? Stop beating yourself up and start troubleshooting your process. Research shows that optimists outperform pessimists in almost every area. They're happier, healthier, wealthier, and they even volunteer more. But let's be clear, optimism isn't pretending everything's fine. That's toxic positivity. Psychologist Martin Seligman put it best. He said, what we want is not blind optimism, but flexible optimism. Optimism with its eyes open. We must be able to use pessimism's keen sense of reality when we need it, but without dwelling in its dark shadows. Pessimism helps you see what's wrong, and optimism helps you do something about it. That combination, honesty and hope, that is the engine of resilience. Finally, resilience means taking ownership. At some point, you have to decide, this is my life and I am the one who's going to change it. Self-pity is natural. It's human nature. We all want to vent, but it's dangerous to stay there. Complaining gives short-term comfort but long-term stagnation. And it's tricky because maybe your professor really is unfair. Maybe your roommate really is a jerk. But at the end of the day, you still control your response to situations. You still decide what happens next. When a student comes into my office and they want to vent, I just let them. They probably need it. I'll let them vent the entire session. But I'll say the next time we meet, it's time to develop an action plan because no one is coming to save you. And that's actually good news because it means that you have the power. You need to ask yourself, what can I do right now to move 1 inch closer to be better? That's the question resilient people live by. You need to be like that tree. You might get knocked down, uprooted, and pushed sideways in life, but eventually you need to turn upward again. You need to reach for the sun. That's resilience. Growth through what tried to bury you. You got this. And if you want more science-backed strategies to thrive in college, don't forget to like and subscribe. Share this with a friend who might need this message. Let's be a community that supports each other.